The massive Empire ship hung in space like a gleaming silver arrow, its hull reflecting the distant sun's light. On Earth's primary defense station, Admiral James watched the vessel through reinforced windows, his weathered face calm despite the tension in the room. "They're broadcasting again, sir," reported Lieutenant Mark from his console. "Same message as before." The message played through the station speakers. "To the inhabitants of the third planet. We are the Galactic Empire, rulers of 5,000 star systems. We come in peace to welcome you into our fold." Admiral James allowed himself a small smile. The Empire clearly hadn't done their homework. If they had, they would have known that humanity had been watching them for decades, studying their technology, and preparing for this very moment. "Send them clearance to dock at Station Alpha," James ordered, "and notify all defense platforms to maintain combat readiness, but keep weapons powered down. Let's not spook our guests." The Empire ship, despite its impressive size, was guided to the docking station by Earth's automated systems. The human engineers had ensured their technology would be compatible with Empire standards, another fact that would surprise their visitors. Inside the station's main conference room, James sat with Earth's diplomatic team. General Robert, the head of global defense, stood by the window, his posture rigid. They had rehearsed this meeting countless times. The Empire delegation entered, led by High Commander William. Their elegant uniforms sparkled with decorations, and their confident smiles suggested they were expecting to meet primitive beings barely capable of spaceflight. The smiles faltered when they saw the advanced holographic displays, the quantum computers, and the casual way humans operated technology that should have been beyond their reach. "Welcome to Earth," James said, rising to greet them. "We've been expecting you." High Commander William's purple eyes widened slightly. "You speak Galactic Standard." "We've had time to learn," James replied. "We detected your observation ships 20 years ago. Did you think those sensor glitches were accidents?" The Empire delegates exchanged uncomfortable looks. Their stealth ships had reported technical malfunctions near Earth for years, but no one had connected the dots. "Impossible," another delegate muttered. "Your species only achieved powered flight a century ago." General Roberts stepped forward. "We advance quickly when we need to, especially when we know we're being watched." The meeting continued, with the Empire delegation growing increasingly uneasy. Every assumption they had made about Earth was proving wrong. The humans weren't primitive. They weren't unprepared. And most importantly, they weren't impressed by the Empire's show of power. "Perhaps," High Commander Williams said carefully, "we should discuss the terms of Earth's integration into the Empire. We offer protection, technology sharing." "No," James interrupted firmly. "We're not here to discuss integration. We're here to establish diplomatic relations between equals." William laughed, but the sound died quickly when no one joined in. "Equals? The Empire spans thousands of systems. Your people haven't even colonized your own solar system yet." James tapped a button on the table. The room's holographic system activated, showing a real-time display of Earth's defense network. Thousands of satellites, defense platforms, and hidden weapons systems appeared, surrounding the planet in a web of protection. "We focused on defending our home before reaching for the stars," General Robert explained. "We've had enough wars among ourselves to know the importance of being prepared." The Empire delegates stared at the display, their faces showing a mix of disbelief and growing concern. This wasn't how first contact scenarios usually played out for them. "Your ship's sensors," James added, "are currently being allowed to see only what we want them to see, just like your observation vessels over the past 2 decades. High Commander Williams' face had lost its confident expression. For the first time in his career, he was facing a species that had prepared for the Empire's arrival, that had studied them without their knowledge, and that showed no sign of fear or awe. As the meeting concluded, James walked the delegation back to their ship. "We look forward to peaceful relations with the Empire," he said pleasantly. "But remember, we've been preparing for other possibilities as well." The Empire ship departed the station, its crew far less confident than when they had arrived. On the station's bridge, General Robert watched them leave. "Do you think they understood the message?" he asked James. The Admiral nodded slowly. "They will. And if they don't, they'll learn soon enough why we're giving them a chance to be friends instead of enemies." The human officers watched the Empire ship disappear into faster-than-light travel, knowing this was just the beginning of a much larger story. 3 days after the first contact, the Empire's diplomatic vessel returned to Earth. This time, they'd brought their military advisors, a clear attempt to assess Earth's true capabilities. The humans were ready for them. The meeting took place in the Global Defense Headquarters, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Admiral James had chosen this location carefully. He wanted the Empire to see exactly what they were dealing with. Today, James announced to the Empire delegation, "We'll show you why establishing peaceful relations is in everyone's best interest." High Commander William shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The underground facility's war room was impressive, a massive chamber filled with holographic displays and staffed by officers who paid little attention to their alien visitors. "We've studied your Empire's history," General Robert began, activating the main display. 23 species brought under Imperial rule. No major conflicts. No significant resistance. He paused. "Would you like to know why humans would be different?" The military advisor, Commander Thomas, leaned forward. "Different? Every species thinks they're different." James pressed a button. The room darkened, and a holographic timeline appeared, showing Earth's military history. "Humans," he explained, "have fought wars since we could hold weapons. But that's not what makes us dangerous." The display showed ancient battles, then medieval conflicts, then modern warfare. The Empire delegates watched with growing unease as the weapons became more destructive, the tactics more sophisticated. "This was World War II," Robert continued. "Entire cities destroyed, millions dead. And then, the screen showed nuclear explosions. The Empire delegates flinched as the mushroom clouds rose. "That was 80 years ago," James said quietly. "We've only gotten better at warfare since then, but we've also learned from it." Commander Thomas spoke up, his voice strained. "You used these weapons on your own people." "We did. Once." Robert's face was grim. "We learned from it. Now we have weapons that make those look primitive, but we choose not to use them. That's what makes us dangerous. We know the cost of war, and we choose peace, but we never forget how to fight." The next display showed modern military exercises, precision strikes that could disable ships without destroying them, weapons that could target specific systems while leaving crews unharmed, defense systems that could track and intercept thousands of threats simultaneously. "Your empire has never faced a real war," James continued. "Your species unified before developing advanced weapons. But humans," he gestured at the display, "we developed our technology because of war, not despite it." The room's lights came back up. The Empire delegation sat in stunned silence. "Let me be clear," James said. "We don't want war. We're showing you this so you understand why starting one would be a mistake." High Commander William found his voice. "Are you threatening the Empire?" "No," Robert replied. "We're warning you. There's a difference. A threat is a promise of violence. A warning is a chance to avoid it." James activated one final display, a simulation of what would happen if the Empire's entire fleet attacked Earth. The delegates watched as their ships were systematically disabled, their weapons neutralized, their defenses bypassed. "We've had decades to prepare," James explained. "We know every weakness in your ships, every flaw in your tactics. We could have kept this knowledge secret, waited for you to make a mistake. Instead, we're showing you, hoping you'll understand." Commander Thomas stood up abruptly. "This is impossible. No species could advance this quickly." "Fear is a powerful motivator," Robert said. "When we learned we weren't alone in the universe, we united. Not because we wanted to, but because we had to. Every war we fought taught us something. Now we're teaching you." As the Empire delegation prepared to leave, James handed them a data crystal. "This contains more of our military history. Study it. Share it with your leaders. Help them understand why we're giving you this warning." High Commander William took the crystal, his hand trembling slightly. "The Empire has never retreated from a world before." "Then learn from us," James replied. "Sometimes the wisest move is to back away from a fight, especially when the other side is trying to help you avoid one." The delegation left, their earlier confidence completely shattered. On their ship, they would begin reviewing the data crystal, and for the first time in Imperial history, they would feel something they had never experienced before: genuine fear of another species. The Imperial High Council chamber was silent after viewing Earth's warning message. 12 council members sat around the massive crystalline table, their faces illuminated by the holographic display that had just finished playing. "They're bluffing," declared Council Leader Peter, breaking the silence. "No single planet species could possess such capabilities." The other council members murmured in agreement, except for High Commander William, who had returned from Earth 3 days ago. He hadn't slept since. "My lords," William said carefully, "I believe we should take their warning seriously. What we saw on Earth—" "What you saw," interrupted another council member, "were carefully staged demonstrations. Theatrical displays meant to intimidate us." The council leader stood, his ornate robes flowing around him. "We will proceed with standard integration protocols. Send the compliance fleet." William felt his heart sink. The humans specifically warned against this. Then they should be honored we're taking such an interest in them. Peter smiled. "Deploy the fleet." 12 hours later, the Empire's compliance fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. 20 warships, each carrying enough firepower to subjugate a small planet. Fleet Commander Frank stood on his bridge, reviewing the invasion plans. The humans would be given one last chance to surrender peacefully before the Empire demonstrated its power. "Sir," his sensor officer called out, "I'm detecting something strange. Our weapons systems are singing." "What?" A soft melody filled the bridge, coming from every console and speaker. The Empire's most advanced warships had been turned into a massive musical instrument. "All weapons are offline," reported the tactical officer, his voice shaking. "Every ship in the fleet. Same thing." Before Frank could respond, a new sound filled the bridge: human laughter. "Hello, Commander," a familiar voice said through the speakers. It was Admiral James. "I see you decided to test us after all." Frank's face darkened with rage. "What have you done to our ships?" "Nothing permanent," James replied casually. "Just a little demonstration. Check your long-range sensors." The fleet's sensors showed hundreds of human vessels surrounding them in a perfect sphere formation. None of them had been there a moment ago. "Quantum displacement technology," James explained. "We've been here the whole time. You just couldn't see us until we wanted you to." Frank's hands clenched into fists. "This is an act of war." "No," James corrected him. "This is an act of mercy. We could have destroyed your fleet the moment you arrived. Instead, we're giving you another chance to learn." Suddenly, every screen on every Imperial ship displayed the same message: coordinates for a safe return journey. "Your weapons will remain offline for exactly 6 hours," James continued. "That's enough time for you to return home at maximum speed. I suggest you use it wisely." Frank looked at his crew, saw the fear in their eyes. These humans hadn't just defeated them. They had done it without firing a shot, without harming a single Imperial citizen. "And Commander," James added, "when you report back, remind the Council of what we showed them. Next time, we might not be so gentle." The Imperial fleet retreated, their mighty warships slinking away like scolded children. As they fled, they detected another transmission. The humans were broadcasting their entire encounter to every species in the galaxy. Back on Earth, Admiral James and General Robert watched the Empire ships disappear into faster-than-light travel. "They'll have to respond," Robert said. "The Empire can't lose face like this." James nodded. "They will. But now everyone in the galaxy knows what happened here. The Empire's aura of invincibility is gone. Do you think they'll finally understand?" "They'd better," James replied, looking at the tactical display showing Earth's real defense capabilities, far more impressive than what they'd revealed so far. "Because we're running out of ways to warn them politely." In the Imperial capital, the High Council received the report of their fleet's humiliation. They watched the recordings in stunned silence, seeing their mighty warships turned into musical instruments, their advanced sensors fooled by human technology. Council leader Peter's face was ashen. "How?" he whispered. "How did they do this?" High Commander Williams stood up. "They tried to tell us, my lord. They'd spent their entire history preparing for war, hoping to avoid it. And we just proved them right." The council chamber fell silent again. But this time, the silence was filled with fear. They had made a terrible mistake, and they all knew that next time, the humans might not be so merciful. The Imperial capital world was in chaos. After the humiliation of their compliance fleet, the Empire had lost face across the galaxy. Reports were coming in of client species beginning to question Imperial authority. Something had to be done. Council leader Peter paced in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the Empire's entire military might. "Deploy everything," he commanded. "Every ship, every weapon. We will not be mocked by a single planet of upstart primitives." High Commander William watched in horror as the orders went out. "My lord, please reconsider. The humans have shown they can." "Silence," Peter roared. "Your cowardice after visiting Earth has infected the Council. No more. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us." Throughout Imperial space, warships began moving. The largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 5,000 capital ships, 20,000 support vessels, millions of troops, all heading toward one small blue planet. On Earth, Admiral James stood in the Global Defense Center, watching the Imperial fleet's movement with calm interest. "They're really doing it," General Roberts said, shaking his head. "After everything we showed them." James nodded. "Pride. It's a dangerous thing." "Status report." "All defense systems are ready," Robert replied. "The new quantum shield network is online. Fleet is in position." Across the solar system, hidden human ships and stations waited. They had spent decades preparing for this moment, hoping it would never come. The first wave of Imperial ships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Their sensors immediately began scanning for Earth's defenses. They found nothing. Fleet Admiral Ted of the Imperial forces frowned at his tactical display. "Where are their ships? Their weapons?" "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "we're detecting some kind of energy field throughout the system, but we can't identify it." Ted smiled. "They're hiding. Begin advance toward Earth. Prepare planet cracker weapons." The Imperial fleet moved forward, their massive ships forming attack patterns they had used to subjugate countless worlds before. They never noticed how the space around them began to shimmer slightly. On Earth, James watched the enemy fleets approach. "They're in position. Begin Phase 1. Suddenly, every Imperial ship's artificial gravity reversed for exactly 1 second. Throughout the fleet, crews were thrown to their ceilings and then back down. No damage, but the message was clear. Their ships were not under their control. "What just happened?" Ted demanded, picking himself up from the floor. Before anyone could answer, every ship's external lights began flashing in complex patterns, turning the Imperial Armada into a massive light show visible across the solar system. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're being broadcast on all frequencies. Every species in the galaxy can see us." James's voice filled every Imperial ship. "This is your final warning. Your ships are within our quantum field. We control every system, Every weapon, every piece of technology you have. Return home, or we will be forced to demonstrate our real capabilities." Ted's face twisted with rage. "Open fire. All ships, fire everything." Nothing happened. "Perhaps I wasn't clear." James's voice came again, now tinged with sadness. "Let me show you what real power looks like." The space around the Imperial fleet suddenly lit up. Thousands of human ships materialized, their quantum drives humming with energy that made the Imperial sensors scream in alarm. They had been there the whole time, hidden in dimensional pockets that the Empire's technology couldn't detect. Every human vessel was smaller than their Imperial counterparts, but they moved with perfect precision, forming geometric patterns that should have been impossible for any fleet to achieve. "My God," Ted whispered, watching his tactical display. The humans weren't just surrounding them. They were demonstrating formation maneuvers that the Empire had never even imagined possible. "Last chance," James announced. "The next demonstration won't be so peaceful." Ted looked at his bridge crew, saw the terror in their eyes. These humans weren't just more advanced. They were operating on a level that made the Empire's greatest fleet look like children playing with toys. "All ships," Ted commanded, his voice shaking, "prepare for retreat." As the Imperial fleet began their withdrawal, James watched from Earth's command center. "They finally seem to be learning," he remarked. "Let's hope so," Robert replied. "Because if they come back again, we'll have to show them what our weapons can really do." James nodded grimly. The Empire had forced their hand. Now the whole galaxy would know. Humanity wasn't just ready for war. They had transcended it. Council leader Peter stood before the assembled might of the Imperial military. The failed attack on Earth had shaken the Empire's confidence, but he wasn't finished yet. "We will not retreat again," he declared. "This time, we strike with everything. No warnings, no mercy." The Empire's reserve fleets joined the main armada. 10,000 capital ships, the greatest concentration of firepower ever assembled in galactic history, enough to destroy a dozen solar systems. On Earth, Admiral James reviewed the intelligence reports. "They're really going to try one more time." General Robert nodded. "They're bringing everything they have, even emptying their home defense fleets." "Then it's time," James said quietly. "Activate the last protocol." Throughout Earth's defense network, new systems came online. Technology that had been kept hidden, waiting for this moment. The quantum field generators powered up to their full capacity for the first time. The Imperial Armada appeared at the edge of the solar system, their weapons already charged. Fleet Admiral Ted stood on his command ship, determined to redeem himself. "All ships, battle formations," he ordered. "Prepare to." He never finished the sentence. Every ship in the Imperial fleet suddenly stopped. Not just stopped moving, stopped everything. Their engines, weapons, life support, all frozen in quantum stasis. On every bridge of every ship, holographic displays activated, showing Admiral James sitting calmly in his command chair. "Hello again," James said to the stunned Imperial crews. "We thought you might return, so we prepared something special." The space around the Imperial fleet shifted. The human ships appeared, but they were different now. Their hulls glowed with energy that the Imperial sensors couldn't even begin to understand. "What you're experiencing," James continued, "is a quantum time lock. Your ships exist in a moment between moments. You can't move, can't fight, can't flee, but you can watch." The human fleet began to move. Not in normal space, but through it, their ships passing through solid matter like ghosts. They wove between the frozen Imperial vessels, demonstrating maneuvers that defied the laws of physics as the Empire understood them. "We didn't want to show you this," James explained. "We hoped our earlier demonstrations would be enough, but you forced our hand." Admiral Ted found he could still speak, though his ship remained frozen. "What? What are you?" "We're human," James replied simply. "We spent centuries fighting ourselves, developing weapons that could destroy worlds. Then we looked to the stars and realized that wasn't enough. So we learned to control reality itself. The human ships continued their impossible dance through the Imperial fleet. Each movement showed mastery over physics that the Empire had thought impossible. Your weapons are based on energy and matter, James continued. Ours controls space and time. You think in 3 dimensions, we operate in 11. Suddenly, every Imperial ship's computer displayed their own technical specifications, but with improvements. Designs that would make their ships faster, their weapons more efficient, their defenses stronger. We're giving you these designs as a gift, James said. A reminder that we could have destroyed you at any time. Instead, we choose to help you advance. The quantum stasis field began to fade. Imperial ships regained control of their systems, finding them upgraded, improved beyond their engineers' wildest dreams. Return home, James commanded. Use these gifts to improve your empire. And remember, Earth will always be watching, hoping you choose peace, but ready if you don't. The Imperial fleet retreated, their mighty ships humbled not by violence, but by the demonstration of power so far beyond their understanding that it might as well have been magic. In the Imperial capital, Council leader Peter watched the recordings of the encounter. His hand shook as he deactivated the display. They could have destroyed us at any time, he whispered. High Commander William nodded. They've been trying to tell us that from the beginning. Every demonstration, every warning. They were trying to avoid this moment. But why? Peter asked. Why show mercy when they have such power? Because that's what makes them different, William replied. They mastered war so completely that they transcended it, and now they're offering to teach us to do the same. The Imperial capital fell silent that night, its leaders realizing that they hadn't just encountered a new species, they had witnessed the future of galactic civilization itself. In the weeks following the final confrontation, the Imperial palace buzzed with activity. Engineers studied the human-provided designs with amazement, while military analysts reviewed footage of Earth's capabilities with growing respect. Council leader Peter sat in his private chamber, watching Earth's first contact message for the 100th time. The warning they had ignored now seemed painfully clear. We should have listened, he said as High Commander William entered the room. Yes, we should have, William agreed. But they knew we wouldn't. That's why they planned each demonstration so carefully. On the screen, human ships danced through 11-dimensional space, making the Empire's most advanced technology look primitive in comparison. The other species are watching us, Peter said, waiting to see how we respond. They're doing more than watching, William replied, activating a holographic display. Look at these reports. The display showed data from across the galaxy. Every species, even those not under Imperial control, was studying Earth's demonstrations. The footage had gone viral across all known civilizations. In Earth's orbital command station, Admiral James and General Robert reviewed similar reports. The Empire is adapting faster than expected, Robert noted. They've already implemented some of our basic designs. James nodded. They're not stupid, just proud. Once we broke through that pride, their true potential began to show. A communication request flashed on their screen. The Imperial Council was calling. All of them, for the first time in history. Accept, James commanded. The Council appeared on the main screen, their faces showing a mix of humility and determination. Council leader Peter spoke first. Earth, he began, we have spent much time studying your messages, your demonstrations, and your technology. And, James asked quietly, and we understand now. Each demonstration wasn't just a show of power, it was a lesson. The other council members nodded. William stepped forward. The musical hack of our ships, showing us that superior technology doesn't require destruction, he said. The quantum stasis field, proving that true power means not having to use it. You're learning, Robert acknowledged. Peter's voice grew stronger. We've shared your demonstrations with every world in the Empire. Not just the technology, but the philosophy behind it. The response has been extraordinary. The screen split to show scenes from across Imperial space. Species that had been conquered centuries ago were now working alongside Imperial scientists, studying the human designs together. Ancient enemies collaborated, united by the revelation of what was possible. Your warning to run wasn't just about fleeing from Earth's power, Peter continued. It was about running from our own limitations, our own outdated beliefs. James smiled for the first time. Now you truly understand. We request, Peter said carefully, not your submission or your technology, but your guidance. Help us become better than we are. The human officers exchanged glances. This was what they had hoped for. Not conquest or humiliation, but understanding. Show us your proposal, James said. The Imperial Council presented their plan. Joint scientific ventures, cultural exchanges, a complete reorganization of the empire based on cooperation rather than dominance. You've done more than learn, Robert observed. You've begun to evolve. Because of you, William replied. You could have destroyed us. Instead, you forced us to confront our own failings. The meeting continued for hours, but its outcome was never in doubt. Earth and the Empire would work together, not as ruler and subject, but as partners in galactic civilization. As the transmission ended, James turned to Robert. They still don't realize, do they, that each demonstration was a test? Robert smiled. That we were evaluating their ability to learn, to grow, to overcome their pride. Exactly. The Empire didn't just pass our tests. They exceeded our hopes. Across the galaxy, the news spread. The Empire that had never known defeat had found something better than victory. They had found wisdom. In his chamber, Peter watched Earth's lights twinkle in the distance. They warned us to run, he mused. And we did, William replied. We ran from what we were, toward what we could become. The Empire had finally understood the greatest lesson humanity had to teach. True power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to choose a better path. 1 year after the Empire's transformation, representatives from every known species gathered on Earth. The Global Defense Center had been converted into a galactic assembly hall, its military displays replaced with cultural exhibitions from 100 worlds. Admiral James stood at the main podium, surveying the gathered delegates. Council leader Peter sat beside him, no longer wearing the ornate robes of Imperial authority, but the simple uniform of a galactic counselor. 1 year ago, James began, we faced each other as potential enemies. Today we meet as architects of a new future. The assembled delegates nodded. Each had seen their societies transformed by the events of the past year. The Empire's client species were now equal partners in a growing alliance. Former enemies worked together on projects using Earth's shared technology. Humanity's greatest fear, James continued, was that we would find a galaxy ruled by force. Instead, we found an empire capable of change. Peter stood to address the gathering. And our greatest fear was finding a species we couldn't control. Instead, we found teachers who showed us a better way. The main display activated, showing the progress of the past year. Imperial warships, once designed for conquest, now served as exploration vessels. The quantum technology Earth had shared was being used to solve problems that had plagued civilizations for millennia. But this is just the beginning, Robert announced, joining them at the podium. Today, we propose the next step. The display showed plans for a new organization, not an empire or an alliance, but a coalition of equals. Each species would maintain its independence while working together for common goals. The Galactic Council, Peter explained, will replace the Imperial system. Every species will have an equal voice. Decisions will be made through consensus, not command. The delegates began discussing among themselves. A year ago, such a proposal would have seemed impossible, but they had all seen what could be achieved through cooperation. Earth will share more of its technology, James added, but only as each species demonstrates their readiness. Power must be balanced with wisdom. William, now serving as the Empire's chief diplomat, stepped forward. We learned that lesson the hard way. Earth could have conquered us. Instead, they conquered our fear and pride. The assembly hall erupted in agreement. Species that had once lived in fear of the Empire now saw a future where advancement came through cooperation, not conflict. The new Galactic Council was approved unanimously. As the delegates celebrated, James and Peter watched from a quiet corner. "Did you know it would end this way?" Peter asked. "When you first detected our observation ships all those years ago?" James smiled. "We hoped. Every warning, every demonstration, was designed to offer you a choice. You chose wisely. And the technology you shared is nothing compared to what humanity has kept in reserve," James replied. "Some advancements can only be shared when all species are ready for the responsibility they bring." Peter nodded thoughtfully. "The other species are already asking about Earth's full capabilities." "Let them wonder," James said. "Mystery can be a powerful teacher. They'll advance at their own pace, just as humanity did." The celebration continued into the night. Delegates from ancient enemy species discussed joint projects. Former Imperial commanders exchanged ideas with scientists they once would have conquered. In orbit, Earth's defense fleet maintained its vigilant watch, now joined by ships from other species. The quantum shields still protected the solar system, but they were now part of a larger network securing peaceful worlds throughout the galaxy. Humanity's greatest achievement, Robert observed, watching the celebrations, wasn't developing advanced technology or defeating the Empire. "No," James agreed. "It was showing the galaxy that progress comes not from power, but from the wisdom to use it correctly." As the delegates departed for their homeworlds, each carried with them a piece of humanity's message. The empire that never had war with humans had discovered something far more valuable than victory. They had found a future worth building together. Peter's final words to the assembly summed up the lesson that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. Earth warned us to run, not from their power, but toward our potential. Today, we all take our first steps on that journey together. The new galactic order had begun, built not on fear or force, but on the simple truth humanity had tried to teach from the very beginning. True strength lies in the power to change.